What tools make you cool? Well, in this video, I'm going to show you all the stuff that I carry in my rig to make sure I'm prepared when I go off-road. Hey everybody, it's Bubba with X's Jeeps. We don't have a new tagline yet. If you got an interesting tagline or an idea what you think it should be, hey, shoot it to me in a comment and I'll check it out. Before we get started on what we're going to do in this video, let me address what we've been talking about when we previously mentioned that there was going to be like a possible name change. We did get a cease and desist letter from FCA, and they didn't like that we were using the word Jeeps in our name. Anyways, as we speak, we have some lawyers working this out, and hopefully we're going to be able to keep our name. Stay tuned. But on to this episode. A customer came in a while back and he was asking me what kind of stuff that I carry in my Jeep when I go off-roading. He said, hey, you should make a video on that. So, Joe, this one's for you. So today we had a few topics: tools, recovery gear, and fluids. First, let's start with storage in general. What I have here is an Atlas 46 bag. Now, some of you have seen maybe my first ever YouTube video, which was terrible. Clip it together. There you go. It's going to keep it together nice and neat for you. Nonetheless, it got a lot of views and sold a lot of product. But Atlas 46 is a great American-owned company. They make awesome products, and we use them for a lot of things. We also sell them on the website and in the store. This is what I think is called the trunk. As you can see, it's a pretty big bag. What's cool about it, it has this central carry handle here. It has a couple of handles on the side right here if you want to pick it up on both sides. It also comes with these fasteners, so if you want to screw this down to the floorboard of your Jeep, and these are at every corner of the bag, you could, whenever you throw this bag in, you would just clip it in and it would stay put. For starters, this is a really good storage solution for a lot of different things that you could do. I also like this bag because I have two Jeeps. I got the JK, I got the Gladiator. Well, instead of buying two of everything, I'm just carrying this, and then when I go off-roading, I always make sure that this bag is with me. And since everything's in this bag, it's pretty easy to go back and forth with it. Two large compartments, so we'll open it up first. And this side is recovery gear. So I guess we're going to talk about recovery gear first. One of the things I like to carry is the Bubba rope. For obvious reasons. No, not because of the name, but because it's awesome kinetic rope. Comes in a nice bag, so you can keep putting it in there if you want to. This is a 30-footer, I think. They're rated for quite a bit. I want to say it's like 17,000 pounds or something like that. It has a strap in here also, so that when you're out on the trail, you don't want to keep putting it back in the bag. You just spool it up and throw the strap around it. It's built into the rope. It's got Velcro on it. When you're done at the end of the day, wipe the dirt off, the mud, whatever, put it back in here and cinch it up. The reason these are nice is because you don't always want to be unspooling your winch, dealing with the remote control for the winch. Sometimes you just need a quick tug to get somebody out of a situation. Or, you know, they're in a ditch or something like that, and you're in a hurry. These are nice to have. You can pull it out, take it out of the bag, throw it on there, pull them out, roll it back up, throw it back in the bag. Really handy to have. Short strap, tree saver, whatever you want to call it. These are nice too, throw around the trees. That way you're not winching directly off of them. Whoa, 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 whoa! 6-footers usually do the job. Man, one of the most important pieces, a snatch block. You don't have to get anything super fancy. This is a Smitty built. You know, they're not that expensive. We sell them in the store. If you know how to use one of these, it can be such a great and valuable tool on the trail. In fact, the last time I think I used one was to pull somebody out. They were falling into a riverbank. It was a very narrow road, and they were perpendicular to the road. So we had to go up with a snatch block off a tree and back down at them, pull them back up on the road. So that's a really cool thing about these. And if you have more of them, you can double the strength of your winch. Here's another couple of short straps I like to keep on them. Primarily I use these, put the Jeep up on a trailer. These are designed to go around the axle to strap it down. Same concept. If you wanted to pull on, you know, an axle or something like that, you would throw these around there. You know, if you have a small tree, really stout tree, you could throw this around there in lieu of the other 6-footer. They're really good short straps, always handy to have. They're cheap. Gloves, right? These are some worn gloves. I think I got a bunch of these when we were working King of the Hammers a couple of years back. Warren was handing these out to the volunteers. Any kind of glove that you can have in your bag is always handy because, you know, you're out there moving rocks around, pulling lines, stuff like that. Gloves are always handy to have. In fact, Had I been wearing my gloves when I was off-roading this weekend and I fell, I wouldn't have hurt my hand like I did. See that? Nice meaty flesh wound.
Just a flesh wound.
I could have saved myself that if I'd have been wearing gloves. Air down tool. These are always nice. This is the ARB, I believe Curry makes one. There's several different air down tools out there. This isn't really recovery gear, but this is part of going out on the trail. Always make sure that you got an air down tool in your bag to make sure that you air down accurate. One of the most important things, a winch controller. You wouldn't believe how many times I've been out off-roading, somebody that we're spotting through, they get in a bind and we need to pull line. We ask for their winch controller and they don't have it. You know who you are. Always, before you go out on the trails, the night before, make sure that you have this kind of stuff with you because it's really important. In fact, check your winch, make sure that that's good to go. Add to that, when you get there and you're airing down, you're getting ready to get on the trail, take this out. I always put this right next to my seat, my driver's seat, underneath it, so that whenever I do need it, it's right there handy, ready to go. Some of you can even run this out, plug it into the winch, secure the cord up against the Jeep and run it inside so you're even more prepared. My Jeep's pretty well built. I use the winch more to pull other people out of stuff, so I just leave it right there next to my seat in case I do need it. And then, you know, random things like bungee cords, small cheap 1-inch ratchet straps. I've seen a lot of track bars failures, brace failures. These can help get you off the trail if you have multiple 1-inch ratchet straps. That can kind of help you out too. But that's a whole nother video in itself. Let's go to the tool side of this bag because there's some other stuff in here that I consider kind of crucial in between recovery gear, prep gear, and tools. Handy dandy zip ties, right? I don't think you can ever have too many zip ties. A lot of people use them for sway bar links to hold them up, clandestine operations. They'll go in at camp in the middle of the night and they'll put these all over your drive shaft, and then you take off the next morning and you hear tap, 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 tap. Well, that's some jerk went underneath there and he's playing a trick on you. What's cool about this is the new age MacGyver tool, right? Instead of duct tape, now we got zip ties. I mean, you literally fix almost everything. They're good for a lot of things. Keep them in your bag. You never know what you're going to do with them. Before we get started on tools, let's talk about what quality of tools you should have with you. It really kind of depends on what you're doing with that tool. For the most part, just going down to Harbor Freight and buying you the Pittsburgh tools, that's all you need for trail tools, right? You're not trying to rebuild your engine while you're out there. Just get things fixed and get off the trail. Because really, do you want to buy a set of Snap-on tools or Matco or Cornwell? Or you don't really need to spend that kind of money on something that you might accidentally leave laying on the trail somewhere. You may not see the most expensive tools, then you are going to see some expensive tools. First, always have some crescent wrenches because you never know, right? I'm not saying that you should go straight to the crescent wrench when you need to tighten or loosen something, but you know, you're not always going to have two of everything. And sometimes you got, 18 millimeter bolts. The head is an 18 millimeter, the nut's an 18 millimeter. Hey, if you want to buy two of everything, that's great. If you don't, keep these around because you're gonna use them eventually. Electrical tape, different varieties. So this here is some rubber tape that's good for waterproofing and connection really well. You don't always have heat shrink out there, but it does act as a good insulator and it goes a long way. Now, if it gets hot, it's gonna start getting tacky and stuff, but really this is just a temporary fix type of deal. Electrical tape, always carry electric tape with you. You get a wire in there and it's pinched, it gets cut, you strip it back, splice it back together, throw some tape around it, and you're good to go. That's an interesting part right there. I'm going to leave that. I found something in here and we're going to leave that for last. More gloves. These are what I like to use. These are my TIG welding gloves. I have a set of these in here because you just never know when you might start welding. I don't have one on my Jeep, but I should. I feel like it's something that I really like is the Premier welder that mounts underneath the hood. If you're not familiar with that, check it out. It's a really handy tool. At least somebody in the group should have some kind of welder if you're in a big group or Jeep club or something like that. So welding gloves because you just never know. More electrical tape. A little bag with some butt splices in it, red and blues. Pretty common throughout the vehicle. So more wire. Here's some red primary wire. Some pry bars. Like I said, you don't want anything too good because if you forget, leave it on the trail. Only $2, not 200. A variety of hose clamps, again like zip ties, just a little bit more robust because you just never know. You got all kinds of different sizes on here. I should add some more in. So it looks like I'm missing some of these 2-inch, these right here, really handy. Hoses of all kinds. I've seen track bars brackets fix a lot of these, but it fixed it. Those are cool to have. Tools, tools, tools. More primary wire, more zip ties, the never-ending zip tie. Now, here's another tool roll. First YouTube video I think I ever made, and that was this, and it was terrible. I was so uncomfortable making that video. So here we go. It's the Atlas 46 Yorktown tool roll, right? What I love about it is that it's so compact. Soft bags are easy to pack. You know, you can stuff them in place. As is carrying handles like this. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 compartments. Keep them 1/4 inch, quarter drive, 3/8 drive, 1/2 inch drive, some random sockets, Allen wrenches, screwdrivers and all that. So I have everything separated. And you're like, where do the wrenches go? On the back side, these handy dandy flaps, and there's our wrenches in here. They don't fit all the wrenches that we're gonna talk about needing on the trail. Pretty much everything in here is like a small mechanic set. You want metric and standard, all different varieties, from 5/16 8mm on up to 24mm. One of the handiest tools that I like to carry around in here, ratchet wrenches or gear wrenches, whatever you want to call them. Hear that? Yeah. So this is a 18mm. This is a Tecton, an Amazon brand. Good, because you have a lot of 18mm on our Jeeps. Big stuff like this, you want to grab you some of these, maybe just grab a whole set. Up to 24mm. Ratchet wrenches are always really handy to have. So metric and standard Allen wrench sets like these, just in case. And Torx as well, like these guys right here. Different bit driver sets and a bit driver to put the bit in itself. That's pretty much what I have in the Yorktown roll. And when I'm done, just kind of roll it up, snap it together, and it'll go right back in there. Last but not least, and this is where I spent some money on my trail tools. This is a snap-on wrench. It's kind of odd. You're kind of wondering, is this channel locks or is this a pipe wrench? It's more or less like a pipe wrench. But what's cool about it is it's super adjustable. This is how adjustable it is. Okay, so as you can see, it was up there, and as we open it up, and this thing opens up a lot. Okay, you can do a lot with this guy. If it's the middle of the night and you're underneath your Jeep, you're probably going to change out whatever it is you're working on anyways. Throw this guy on there. What's cool about it is this isn't really to grip with. This part right here. Once you have your grip on it and you start applying torque to this thing, it is a super awesome tool. That's pretty much why it's like a pipe wrench. This is the part number from Snap-on. It's PWZ2. Awesome, awesome tool. Very robust. It's going to last forever. It's not as big and bulky as a pipe wrench, but it opens up more. This guy has some good teeth in there to latch on and not let go. Like a bi-script, channel lock, pipe wrench all in one. They're just awesome. Go on eBay or something like that. Just find somewhere where you can get one of these. They do come in other sizes. There are some smaller ones and some bigger ones, but I went with what I thought was good size for what we're doing. About 80 bucks, I think. Before we get into fluids, let's talk about parts. This is a really important subject because if you're like me, I have an LS swap. One of the cool things about an LS is that engine's been around for a long time. It's been through a lot of different platforms, and a lot of people swap them out into different vehicles too, so they're everywhere, which means that the parts are plentiful for these things, right? Now, this isn't an LS swap plug, but maybe a little bit. However, it wasn't ever built for the Jeep, right? So for those guys that are out there running different belts or running a 3.6 or 3.8, usually I always recommend that you guys carry belts with you. I'm glad that we went through this because it reminds me that I took the spare belt that I had and I put it on the Jeep the other day. If you got some kind of weird swap in your Jeep, like a Hemi, an LS, whatever engine you got in there, let's say you got a supercharger, or you got let go right here. Something, but you got a different size belt in there than your buddy would that doesn't have it. Make sure that you're carrying those extra parts. Some examples of that would be this little guy right here. So this is a coil wire for the LS. And the reason I carry about it is because the LSs are notorious for these wires going bad on them. It just happens. I don't know why, but whatever. So I carry a couple of these with me at all time. Some in here, some in the glove box, because I have been driving and then all of a sudden it feels like I'm having a misfire. Because I am, and it's usually a bad coil wire. I get out and I can hear it tick, tick, tick. It's arcing across from the coil pack to a bolt right there. Shut it down, reach underneath there, swap this guy out real quick, and we're back in business. These are cheap, plentiful, you know, AutoZone, everybody has them. So just carry a couple with you if you have an LS or a Hemi. Or next, U-joints. Now, the odds of you changing out a U-joint out on the trail, very, very slim. Broken U-joint, you never know. You might be forced to do it. So carry U-joints with you. This is a 1350. So that's pretty much what I run on my JK and the Gladiator is 1350. So I like to have a couple extra U-joints with me just in case for my drive shafts. The front axle on this thing's got 1550 and I have broken them before, as you know. I'm not carrying that with me because even if I did break them, as you've seen before, it pretty much destroyed everything. But you may lose a cap or something like that on your drive shaft. These are pretty handy to have. In my JK, I run 1350s in the front as well. Having a couple of these with you is a good idea. That's all the stuff that I have in my tool bags. I might have some more in my fluids box as well. So, open this guy up. Oh, there's something else. We'll get to that in a minute. Before I do, how about this? If you've moved, you know what this is. It's a moving blanket. You can pick these up pretty much at like Home Depot, stuff like that. These are really nice to have because they're pretty durable. You don't really care if you get them dirty and stuff like that. You got to get underneath the Jeep and work on it. You don't want to be rolling around in the dirt. These are really nice to have. When you're done working on it, you just pick it up, pop it out, get all that dirt out, fold it back up, and put it back in the Jeep somewhere. Fluids. I got a different variety of stuff.
Hey, we got some soda, OJ, purple stuff, something you like.
In here, I got gear oil, I got engine oil, I got power steering fluid, I got coolant. Just about any kind of fluid that my Jeep has in it, I carry in this box. Because, for lack of a better word, shit happens.
It happens.
We know that. More often than not, I have broken something when I go off-roading, and a fluid leak is involved in that. Talking about spare parts again, look what else I found in here. And this is a hydraulic hose for hydraulic assist steering. Because they rub stuff, they get pinched up in places, they get cut. I always carry one of these with me. Make sure it's at least long enough that you can install it. It's not getting stretched out and bound up and break on you again. Keep an extra hydraulic hose with you for your hydro assist. At least one. Yeah, you could cap that stuff off on the trail, but I mean, it's so messy. I mean, if you're going to all that trouble, if you got an extra hose, you might as well fix it while you're underneath there and you're taking all this stuff off. And these aren't that expensive. I mean, probably 30 bucks for one of these hoses. If you don't have one, just go down to Napa and have one made. Most commonly is -6AN size fitting is what we're using for hydro assist. Funnel for those fluids. Blocks. Now, why on earth would it... Hey, look, I did find my belt. It wasn't here after all. So I do still have a spare belt for my LS. Keep wooden blocks with me because I have a bottle jack, which is not in here. It's at the shop. Took it out the other day for something else. Bottle jack, bottle jack, bottle jack. Beetlejuice. 12 ton, I think is a good size. Again, a Harbor Freight special. Cut you up some 2x4s, throw in there because you are going to want to put that. I mean, seriously, you want to sit there and pump all day to get this guy up off the ground. It's got 40-inch tires on it. So your stock jack is not going to work. Get a bottle jack. Also, you may be able to use them as wheel chocks if you need to. Definitely have brake fluid. That's always handy to have. And then one of my favorite things to have, if you watched my JKX video, you know that I broke a brake line while I was on the trail. I mean, I cut it, I severed it. Fluid is hemorrhaging out of this brake line. That's why we carry extra brake fluid, okay, because shit happens.
It happens.
But this guy right here, so I just clamped off the brake line. My good friend Tony Payne, he had one handier in his Jeep. He was right behind me when that happened. He jumped out, he grabbed his, we stopped the bleeding. In fact, I'm ashamed to say this, but I drove for a good 2 or 3 months with that brake line pinched off. That's how effective it is, okay? Was that smart? Probably not. During that time, vice grips held. I mean, we did the entire JKX pretty much after that. Now, I did grab another set of vice grips and I doubled up and zip tied that sucker out of the way so that brake line wouldn't just flap around. But it will work. It does work. It works very, very well. So these are awesome tools to have in your bag. Let's see what else we got in here. Oh, there's an extra hydraulic assist ramp. I bent this one on the JKX because I didn't have a skid protecting it. Tom from PSC, he was nice enough to let me have one that he had in his JK, so we were able to swap it out. So what I did was, actually I rebuilt this guy. I got a new shaft for it and a seal kit and we rebuilt it. And I threw it in the box just in case that ever happens again, because what I found was that was really hard to steer that Jeep. In fact, it was impossible. We had to disconnect the ramp. So these are good to have if you got the room in your Jeep for it. And I do, because I had that box. So I was like, what the hell? I threw it in there. The off chances of that ever happen again, since I built the skid plate for the brand, very slim. But you never know. One of your buddies it might happen to them, whatever. So these are good to have. I'm not saying that you have to have it. I just happen to have an extra one, and I rebuilt it, so why not carry it? I will say that stuff like this power steering fluid, all the PSC setups that we install, we like to use a Swepco 17 fluid. That's not something that you're going to go into AutoZone or O'Reilly's and pull off the shelf. We sell it, but this is something that you should carry with you if you run a PSC setup. Last but not least, let's talk about all these fluids, right? Like, we're replacing them. Well, what was happening to them? Well, they were leaking out, right? So something else nice to have with you is a spill kit. In the spill kit, you can get them off Amazon for like 30 bucks. You have these really thick absorbent pads in there. These are nice. Throw them underneath there real quick. Get that going. These guys right here, if you have a lot of fluid coming out, if you have so much fluid coming out that you need one of these, you probably don't have enough fluid to put back in the Jeep anyway. You might be in a stream or something like that, and the fluid, the oil is leaking out into the water. This is like a boom. It's going to float on the water. It's going to capture that fluid instead of it going downstream. Some gloves in it. Okay, so
don't get your little hands dirty.
A bag to put all the contaminated stuff in when you're done. At Pismo, when we jumped the Jeep, one of the 2 little failures that we had was a broken transmission cooler line that we had to go underneath and cap off. I mean, it was messy. It was leaking some fluid. So we pulled this guy out real quick and we threw these underneath, and we captured as much fluid as we could. Spill kits are awesome to have. And last but not least, a fire extinguisher. This isn't really a tool or anything, but it is very important to have with you, because all you guys out there wiring stuff up yourself, your stuff might catch on fire. Well, I'm not saying that because you need to go take it to a shop and have it wired up. Even a professionally installed best equipment can fail and catch on fire. So definitely have a fire extinguisher with you, just in case. I mean, you might have some fluid leak on your exhaust to catch on fire. You just never know. Fire extinguishers are very important to have with you, so get one. I have mine in a Bartech cover. It has some Velcro straps that go through here, and I Velcro it up next to my driver's seat. So it's right there handy on me all the time. Don't put it in the back of your Jeep on the roll bar. Yeah, it looks cool, but realistically, if something ever happens, that's going to be hard to get to. You want to make sure that this is easily accessible. Next to the driver's seat is about as accessible as it can get. You like that video? Be sure to click here and go check out our other video on 5 things you should check before off-roading. Also, if there's something that you carry in your rig but we didn't include it in this video, be sure to add it to the comments so everyone else can check it out.